From the City of Angels off the Pacific Ocean, good morning, good evening, wherever you may be. Across the nation, around the world, I'm George Norrie. Welcome to Coast AM. Happy St. Paddy's Day. Next hour, the search for Planet X. Well, a dangerous drug-resistant bacterial infection has been showing up, apparently, in a small number of patients who undergo facelifts, according to doctors. When infections do occur at surgical sites following such procedures, the facial plastic surgeon should have a high suspicion for MRSA. That's the methicillin-resistant staph, according to sources. So be careful. MagnaMan is the latest casualty of the toy recall frenzy. They don't say where MagnaMan is made, but you can only guess. The Consumer Product Safety Commission says about 1.3 million of the action figures distributed by Mega Brands America would be recalled because small magnets inside the toys can come loose and be swallowed by children. No injuries have been reported so far, but the company and the CPSC have received about 25 complaints about MagnaMan small magnets detaching. The MagnaMan toys are warrior figures with magnetic body parts. They're sold at Walgreens, Target, Kmart, Toys R Us, and other stores across the country. You are urged to stop using MagnaMan immediately and send it back to Mega Brands for a free replacement toy. A neighbor found the body of 62-year-old Ola Brunkert on Sunday evening at his house in a coastal area outside the eastern town of Arta. What happened? Well, they say it was an accident. He apparently hit his head against a glass door in his dining room, shattering the glass and cutting himself in the neck. He managed to wrap a towel around his neck and left the house to seek help, but collapsed and died in the garden. What a bizarre death. Swiss energy giant EGL is signing a 25-year deal with Iran to buy 5.5 billion cubic meters of Iranian natural gas a year starting in the year 2011 for a reported $28 billion. The contract will be the second largest European gas deal. Nearly three-quarters of all Americans think the economy is now in a recession, according to a national poll. 74% of those questioned in a CNN Opinion Research Corporation survey said the economy has entered a recession. That figure is up from 66% who felt that way in a similar survey last month. And the former head of the Federal Reserve, Alan Greenspan, he says the current financial crisis in the U.S. is likely to be judged in retrospect as the most wrenching since the end of the Second World War. It will end eventually, he says, when home prices stabilize and with them the value of equity in homes supporting troubled mortgage securities. The American housing bubble peaked in early 2006, followed by an abrupt and rapid retreat over the past couple years. Since summer of 2006, hundreds of thousands of homeowners, many forced by foreclosure, have moved out of a single-family home into rental housing just because they can't afford where they were staying. In one of the most stunning developments of the Bear Stearns fire sale, that's the big investment bank, is that many of the firm's 14,000 employees, as well as the firm's many thousands of shareholders, have just watched their stakes in the company merely go up in smoke. What's more, according to the Sunday News, that J.P. Morgan Chase would purchase Bear for $236 million, or $2 a share, a mere fraction of its value, even from the close of trading Friday. It sent fears that there might not be much of Bear Stearns left when the merger is set to be completed later this year. In a moment, trends analyst Gerald Celente joins us to talk about this, the economy, and what we can do. The great-granddaughter of a Civil War-era storekeeper, Civil War now, in Tampa, Florida, is suing the city for a 147-year-old unpaid promissory note with interest. The note is now worth over $22 million. The financially strapped city of Tampa, in need of ammunition during the Civil War, issued the note to Thomas Kennedy on June 21st, 1861. Kennedy's great-granddaughter, Joan Kennedy Biddle, and her family are suing to collect the payment plus 8% annual interest. And an 80-year-old widower who's been saving his dead wife's outgoing message on voicemail so he could remember what she sounded like, lost it when Verizon upgraded phone service in his area. Charles Whitting told the New York Journal News that he stayed connected to the memory of his wife, Catherine, by calling his phone every day just to hear her say, "The Whittings aren't home." But after the Verizon upgrade in the Westchester, New York area, the greeting message was wiped from his voicemail. Whitting said he immediately phoned the company, waiting an entire hour to be helped, even getting disconnected at one stage. And after calling back and holding another 90 minutes, he was told the outgoing message Catherine had recorded had been lost for good. In a moment, Gerald Celente joins us. We talk about, are we in a recession? Are we not? Is it worse? He's next on Coast to Coast AM. This story is so big, the undercurrent's so huge, I thought we'd keep Gerald Celente for the entire hour. We'll open up the phone lines in about 15 minutes or so. Gerald Celente, of course, founder, director of the Trends Research Institute. He is the #1 trend analyst, publisher of the Trends Journal newsletter, his website, trendsresearch.com. Well worth going to. Gerald, this situation, just when you think it gets a little better, we get in deeper and deeper and deeper. Were you surprised by this? I don't think so.
No, not at all. We have been forecasting the panic of '08 and an economic 9/11 for several months now, and it's happening. We're calling this the St. Patrick's Day Massacre. There's never been anything like this before. This is history making. And the media, of course, as they normally do, they give it, short shrift and move on to some kind of salacious news piece. Everybody should be worrying very, very much about what's going on. And the amount of misinformation and innuendo to misdirect the people it's astounding. There's never been a bailout of a private brokerage firm like this before. And you read today's headline in the New York Times about the takeover, and in the first paragraph at the end of it they say that this bailout was, quote, was driven to the brink of bankruptcy by what amounted to a bank run. There's no bank run.
There's no bank. And it also sounds to me like the deal of the century for J.P. Morgan. Isn't the building where Bear Stearns works out of in New York, isn't the building worth more than what they're paying for the takeover?
Yeah, they're estimating that the building is worth about $1.5 billion. And again, this innuendo, and the average person doesn't know it. They think it's a bank run, and they saved the country here. They just saved a bunch of their buddies. No more, no less. And the Fed has been doing this since they began cutting interest rates severely in early August, following the first declines. The second part of the misinformation is they keep blaming everything on the subprime problem.
Right.
This is peanuts compared to these groups, this Blackstone group, Carlyle group, Cerebus, all of these buyout firms. What buyout firms? A couple of people got loans for several $1 million, and they float tens of billions on it. It's all of these shopping malls, these condominiums, again, these buyout deals like Chrysler and Hilton, and they exalted these people as, the wonderful financiers of the Gilded Age.
I want to know, Gerald, where's the money coming from for the bailout? I mean, so when they say the Fed is going to lend or to give J.P. Morgan the money to buy what's left to Bear Stearns, which amounts to what, a couple $1 billion? $236 million in this deal, but they're helping these banks out to a couple $1 billion. They announced that a week or so ago to help prop them up. Where's the money coming from?
Well, the Fed just threw like $230 billion just in about the last week and a half. This is fake money, and what it's doing, George, and this is what people really need to know, is they're sacrificing the dollar, the value of the dollar, and the future of America to bail out their friends.
Yes.
End of story. And what we're going to go through is an inflationary cycle, the likes of which we've never seen before.